purity, everything is in the heart. If one in impure condition is thinking that I have now become pure, that is rascal. But in the purity platform, if there is no deity worship, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva, he sees Krishna everywhere. And Haridas, we should not...
Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Vashatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jayo Radha Gopinatha Shri Radhe Jayo Jagannatha Jayo Baladeva Subhadra Mai Jaya Sudarshana Jayo Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jayo Giri Govardhan Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Srila Gurudev ki Jai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Slokir Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम् हरि ओम तत्सत्. So we are continuing our journey on Srimad Bhagavatam. We are in the 16th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. So far we have finished until verse number 16. Today we are going to continue from verse number 17. So okay, so we hope to finish this chapter today. There are around 18 more verses. We will try to finish this chapter today. The chapter entitled How Parikshit Received the Age of Kali. We saw how Parikshit Maharaj saw all the symptoms of Kali, and he went to subdue all the other kings in order to make sure that within their kingdoms, which is subordinate to his kingdom, they are all following the rules and regulations, and not allowing Kali Yuga to come in. So text 17. Now you may hear. So basically, we saw how last week, we saw until Parikshit Maharaj, going out, hearing about the glories of the Lord and the devotees. So Sutta Goswami is continuing. Text 17, translation. Now you may hear from me what happened while Maharaj Parikshit was passing his days hearing of good occupation of his forefathers and being absorbed in the thought of them. So even though he was a king, still he was engaging in Shravanam. Even though he was a pure devotee, still he was engaged in Shravanam. Shravanam is the basis of spiritual life. So, Srila Prabhupada says that that's the beginning of spiritual life. Even a sleeping person wakes up by, his ears are the first senses that works. So, similarly for the Atma that is sleeping, hearing is the most important activity. There is no purport to this text, so we'll go to text 18. The personality of religious principles, Dharma, was wandering about in the form of a bull, and he met the personality of earth in the form of a cow, who appeared to grieve like a mother who had lost her child. She had tears in her eyes, and the beauty of her body was lost. Thus, Dharma questioned the earth as follows. So, this is very important verse to understand because it signifies the importance of cow and bull. Bull is the dharma, right? Dharma we have seen in the previous classes. Dharma is the basis of dharma is the basis of spiritual life and happiness in material life as well. So dharma is in the form of bull. Srila Prabhupada talks in the purport about the importance of milk from cows and how cows and bulls, if they are in a happy mood, then the whole society will be, whereas we today in a very horrible situation where millions of cows and bulls are killed and eaten, it's a very animalistic or more asuric, society. So he himself was in the form of a bull. Dharma is always represented by bull, and our earth is represented by cow in the form of cow. So this is also very interesting because of the seven mothers. Two mothers are, one is cow and the other one is earth, and then we see that she is also taking the form of cow. So Dharma is questioning Bhuma Devi. Text 19. Dharma, in the form of bull, asked, Madam, are you not hale and hearty? Why are you covered with shadow of grief? It appears by your face that you have become black. Are you suffering from some internal disease, or are you thinking of some relative who is away in a distant place? It's a very interesting verse and a very interesting purport. He's asking the questions, why are you having some disease? See, because in previous days, disease is not very common. Actually, it was very rare to have disease. Today, everybody has disease in the material. That's the age of Kali. Actually, in the it is said that in when Rama was the king and when these great Pandavas were the king, because people were so pious, they never had to suffer, go through bad karma. There is no question of going through bad karma, right? There is no question of bad karma. Even in Mahabharata, we see that there was this Brahmana who lost his son, and then he goes and says, Yudhishthira, you have done something wrong. Yudhishthira is like, what? I am a father. How can a son die before a father? If that means the rulers are not good. And then immediately Arjuna actually goes in search and brings back that, the Lord Vishnu has taken that boy. With the help of Krishna, he goes to Vaikuntha and brings the boy back, because Vishnu wanted to see Krishna and Arjuna. So anyway, this the point is that is having disease, people, young people dying before older people, husband dying before wife, widowhood, these are all considered very inauspicious in Vedic culture. So here he is asking, are you having a disease? Why are you, appearing pale? Your face has lost its shine. And he's also talking about, it's actually also in the Vedic literature considered very unfortunate to not live among family, go away from family. Like, we are all, most of us are from India background, right? And many of us have come to this country and our relatives are living back, we call and talk to them and things like that. It's actually considered a sign of misfortune. Only person who can't be happy in his native land, he will travel to a foreign land, right? But at least we are here, we can use it in the service of the Lord and Srila Prabhupada. But generally, that in Vedic culture, leaving one's own home and going somewhere else is considered a sign of misfortune. Today, it is considered, people from India, you're going outside, you're going to America, you're going to Australia, it's a great place. But, in Vedic culture, it is misfortune, because you're leaving Bharatavarsha or the Punya Bhumi, and then you're traveling outside. So, in a Vedic culture, it is not considered, it's a very this thing. Prabhupada writes, to earn a livelihood, the father lives at a place far away from the son, or the wife lives far away from the husband, and so on. These are suffering from internal. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada says this particular symptom of age of Kali is that is family is now not no family is blessed to live together. So these are all the symptoms of Kali Yuga. Text 20. I have lost my 3 legs and I am now standing on one only. Are you lamenting my state of existence? Or are you in great anxiety because henceforward the unlawful meat eaters will exploit you? Or are you in a sorry plight because the demigods are now bereft of their share of sacrificial offerings because no sacrifices are being performed at present? Or are you grieving for living beings because of their suffering due to famine and drought? So Dharma is questioning why Bhuma Devi is in such a sad state. First, he is saying he himself is in a bad state, and he is asking, because you see me in such a bad state, are you crying? Because Dharma had lost its 3 legs. So basically, there are 4 legs for Dharma: honesty, Satyam, tapas, austerity, saucham, cleanliness, and then what's the 4th one? Tapasya, honesty, saucham, and mercy, compassion, right? These daya, these 4 are the legs of Kali, and then of Dharma, out of which, because of Kali, 3 legs are lost. Only little bit honesty is left, and that also keeps on, coming down and down. At some point, that will be completely gone, and that's when Kalki avatar will happen. So he's asking, are you crying because that I've lost 3 legs? Also, Srila Prabhupada in the purport talks about how 3/4 of the population of Kali Yuga will be very irreligious. That also represents the losing of the 3 legs of Dharma. Which is it's a very, what you call as a godless civilization. Srila Prabhupada writes. And in also he's asking, the next question he's asking is that the meat eaters are going to exploit you, which we are seeing in Kali Yuga, right? Most of the population is meat eating, and it's actually being vegetarian or vegan is considered like a weird thing or something. That's the other day, there's a big article in a big newspaper, why being vegan is not good for your body. Rascals, these are all complete rascals who are just exploiting the society, and killing poor animals just for sense gratification, just to satisfy the tongue. They eat. There is no other reason to kill an animal and eat, and they are giving justification why that is good. Right? That's the society that we are living. And they talk bad about people who are trying to be vegan or trying to help others to become vegan. That's how bad this today. They kill animals ruthlessly. The articles we see, trillion billions and trillions of animals are killed, fish and chicken and the eggs, and millions of them or trillions of them are killed and consumed by human being. It gives much pleasure, pain to Bhuma Devi, because every living entity is Bhuma Devi's son and daughters. So when she sees that one particular species is killing and ruthlessly, destroying the other, it's like one son killing all the other sons and daughters of her father or a mother. She feels extreme pain, and that's so. Here he is asking, is that why? And not only they kill, they are using Earth's resources itself to kill and do those cruel stuff. All the factories and all the metals that are used, everything is extracted, and so they are using everything from Abuma just to hurt other living entities, which is super painful for her. And also, there's a talk about how Prabhupada also in the purport talks about generally this meat eating. He talks negative about all the meat eating, and he says, but there's one kind of meat eating that was allowed in the Shastra is where when it is done in sacrifice. Because in sacrifice, when the meat was offered, the Brahmana, by his purity, was able to make sure that the living entity offered in the yajna attains a human body directly in his next life. And so they achieved a higher status by being offered in the yajna. Any other form of meat eating is actually very condemnable. Even actually for a Vedic, for devotees, actually, we are not even interested in doing that kind of sacrifice, because at the end of the day, it's all karma kanda. There is a section in Bhagavatam, we'll see in the fourth canto, where Narada Muni condemns this even sacrificial killing. He actually very strongly condemns, and he tells, because there was a king who was doing many sacrifices, he said, what nonsense, just chant the holy name of the Lord, engage in devotional service. So so Srila Prabhupada talks about all this cycle that we read in Bhagavad Gita. You do sacrifice that satisfies the demigod, including Surya Deva. Then he he takes the water and then produces clouds, and then the rain comes, and with the rain more grains are produced, and then you use the grains again in sacrifice. So it's a positive cycle Srila Prabhupada talks about. Um, but Srila Prabhupada also ends by saying that the only yajna that will work in Kali Yuga is Sankirtan Yajna, as prescribed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, all these things that are going to happen in Kali are already known to Dharma, and that's why he's saying, meat eaters are going to exploit you. Is that why you're crying? There is no sacrifice. And because there is no sacrifice, the living entities themselves are going to suffer. There is suddenly too much rain, or there is no rain for many years. Even in so-called advanced countries, all these things, we say, oh, we are in first world country, they are in third world country, but still, there is a drought and famine, and suddenly there is a flood. It's all sufferings are there. We may call it first world country, but actually we are all living in third world country only. Text 21. Are you feeling compunction for the unhappy women and children who are left forlorn by unscrupulous persons? Or are you unhappy because the goddess of learning is being handled by Brahmanas addicted to acts against the principle of religion? Or are you sorry to see that the Brahmanas have taken shelter of the administrative families that do not respect Brahminical culture? Very important verse. Here, Vacham Devim Brahma Kule Kukarmani Abrahmanye means negative connotation. Abrahmanye, one who is born in Brahmana Kula, he will act against the religious principles of being a Brahmana. right? Kali Yuga, it is very clearly, Brahmanas, even today, people, in India, people who are born in Brahmin family, they are very proud. I am born in a Brahmana family. But here, they were already predicted that even though they will learn the Vedas, whatever is coming from Saraswati, goddess of learning, they will learn, but still they will also engage in irreligious acts, right? It is already predicted by Sutta Goswami, So this is all going to happen. The Brahmanas who are supposed to be the top part of the society, they will be Abrahmanye. They will be doing activities that are not fit for a Brahmana, against their own religious principles. We see that Brahmanas engaging in meat eating, and people who are born in and trained as a Brahmanas, doing meat eating, taking intoxication, and they'll give justification. It's all okay. But we see that it is all predicted how the Brahmanas will do like this. Mm, and also, particularly, this is very important. Goddess of learning should be only handled by person who are qualified, meaning one who had good qualities. When the knowledge is taught to person who have bad qualities, it will produce a lot of problem. That's why those days Shudras were never allowed to learn Vedic literature. So here, we see that in Kali Yuga, it's basically everybody is, exploiting and using it for their own purpose. And also, the other thing is Brahmana should never be dependent on the Kshatriyas. Right? The Kshatriyas give charity to Brahmanas, no doubt, but Brahmana shouldn't expecting that. Why? Because Brahmana means he should be completely dependent upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whereas the moment Brahmanas start depending upon the Kshatriyas, if the Kshatriyas do a mistake, Brahmanas are supposed to correct. But now that you are dependent on him, you have no qualification to correct. Right? We see that in case of Dronacharya, how because he had accepted what Dhritarashtra was giving him, when Duryodhana in the war, he was forced to take the side of Duryodhana. As a Brahmana, he should have taken a decision that he should support where there is the right on the Pandava side, but he couldn't do it because he was dependent on the administrative. So we see that even little before Kali came, the symptoms of Kali already started manifesting in certain forms. Right? Otherwise, all the Brahmanas were always on the side where there is Dharma. So this is one of the reasons that a spiritual minded person should never be dependent on a Kshatriya or a Vaishya, because then because their character is not as great as a Brahmana, and their spiritual inclination is not as strong as a Brahminical spiritual inclination. If you are dependent on them, what happened is you will have to adjust for them, right? Because you are dependent on them. They are your master, and that's what we see in today's all these Brahminical people. Initially when India was attacked, and when the Muslims came over, and then later the British came over, particularly, we see many Brahmanas were employed. That's how they gave up their Vedic culture, right? They were all studying in Gurukul, only reading the Vedic literature. When the British masters came, they became servants of the British Malechas, right? And they gave up their Vedic studies to do material studies to serve these British masters, and that's how they have lost all their culture and their values. So we see that a Brahmana should never be dependent on others. He should only be dependent on Krishna. And also, a very important thing that is talked about is women and children being left without any support. Again, we have seen this in many classes. In the name of feminism and independence, actually, women are being exploited. Right? Women should be supported. They should be worshipped. Right? The role of a mother, as I have said in the past, is the topmost. Even when somebody even takes sannyasi is considered the topmost in a varnashrama. Even a sannyasi has to respect his mother. Right? He has to go pay dandavats to his mother, do even in the final rites. That connection is never lost. You see how even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as soon as he took sannyas, the first thing he did was take instruction from his mother. He said, "This body belongs to you. I may have taken sannyas, but still you are the owner of this body." He tells Sachimata. And then that's when Sachimata requests, at that point, Sachimata being very intelligent, she says, "I would love you to be with me, but now that you have taken sannyas, if you remain with me, the people will talk bad about you. And also, it is a responsibility of the parents to allow the children to go in search of Krishna. If I don't allow you to go in search of Krishna, then I'm not a good mother." I see how great mother she was. So then she says that's when she requests Mahaprabhu to stay in Nilachal, Puri, because those days a lot of people used to travel between Puri and Navadvip, and she could keep hearing news about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we see that how women were so much worshipped that even a sannyasi has to respect his mother. So the position of mother is such a great thing. So today it's considered working women are great, and women who are at home and who are nurturing the kids are not considered respectful. But that is actually exploitation of women, because women were given the position of the mother. When they nurture the kids and they bring up the kids, they are doing the greatest work that anybody can do. Even a father cannot replace a mother for children. The position of mother is the most important role in the whole society, because the next generation is dependent on her. So what she is doing is the future, not as inventing some technology, writing some code. These are all nonsense, has no value. These are all tamogul. But the role of a mother, it's such an important role. So when women was given such important role of nurturing the kids and bringing them up in a spiritual environment, because she is doing such an important job, she was always protected as well. She was valued, protected, and she was respected. But we see the opposite today, right? Women, in the name of independence, they want to go out and work. They don't want to work, because these are all brainwashing in the society. That means, if you work outside, you are great. It's not. It's all nonsense. But that's the nature of Kali Yuga, which is already predicted by Dharma earlier. Text 22. The so-called administrators are now bewildered by the influence of this age of Kali, and thus they have put all state affairs into disorder. Are you now lamenting this disorder? Now the general populace does not follow the rules and regulations for eating, sleeping, drinking, mating, etc., and they are inclined to perform such anywhere and everywhere. Are you unhappy because of this? See? So it's a very important verse again. In how Kali Yuga, the Kshatriyas, there won't be any proper Kshatriyas, and the Sudras will become the rulers. And when the leaders are not properly guiding and enforcing, the most important rule of a Kshatriya is to keep the law and order. Law and order in such a way that people are able to follow the spiritual Vedic injunctions. Particularly, it has to regulate the activities. That regulation is very important in all these four: eating, sleeping, mating, drinking. It has to be very orderly. We see that everything is a haphazard in today's world, right? People eat whatever time they want. They eat all nonsense. There is no offering. There is no sacrifice. There are everywhere people go and drink. This drinking, again, intoxication is considered a standard in Western world. That's also becoming true in India. India, in some cases, are worse. Drinking is considered, if you don't drink, then you are considered an outcast. So that's a way, it's all predicted by Dharma, that all people will have no regulations regarding this. They'll drink whatever it is, right? We see Srila Prabhupada writes how Britishers conquered the India through tea and coffee. Srila Prabhupada writes how his own wife, she was so addicted to tea. And we will see that also many Brahmanas also, they gave up literature and this thing, because they were addicted to coffee and tea. So all these things, we see that how bad the society is. There is no regulations. And sleeping, people sleep whole day and they are awake whole night. Even work, they go night shift. All these things were never, those days there's no question of night shift. 8 o'clock everybody will sleep. Even war will not happen in the night. The sun, so when the sun sets, war also will stop. Everybody will go, because morning they have to do their morning spiritual activities. Evening they have to do spiritual activities. They are only work time they come and do war. That's how structured and disciplined their life was. But today's life, even a Brahmana who has dedicated his life to Vedic literature is not able to follow all these things. The people sit and watch TV late until the night. Drinking and mating. There is no standard. Everybody can do anything, anywhere. Living relation. All these things has happened, and these are all actually because the Kshatriyas are not properly. And Kshatriyas are supposed to be the rulers and take care of the earth. And because they don't do properly, People are engaging in all these sinful activities, and that gives lot of pain to Mother Earth. Srila Prabhupada talks about in the purport. He says how this particularly this act of mating. It's so common. We see so many nonsense advertisement. Everything is half naked women. This idea of in marketing and in the master's degree for business administration, they teach any product, if you can sell it with the naked woman, do it. They teach it in colleges, great Ivy League colleges. This is what they teach. So you see, for everything, women are exploited, their body is exploited, everything is sexually portrayed. So the mind is always disturbed. Prabhupada gives the example of how Ajamila became disturbed just by seeing a Shudra man and women embracing each other. Then that's the case in Kali Yuga. Everywhere it is openly done without any this thing. So basically, it's very difficult to follow Brahmacharya and keep the standard in Kali Yuga. So this is so the influence of Kali, Prabhupada says, is there everywhere, politically, socially, even religiously. Everything is topsy-turvy, and therefore for the sane man it is all regrettable. Text 23. O Mother Earth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari incarnated himself as Lord Sri Krishna just to unload your heavy burden. All his activities here are transcendental and they cement the path of liberation. You are now bereft of his presence. You are probably now thinking of those activities and feeling sorry in their absence. So here also now talking spiritual, viraha, that separation, because Krishna was there, touching Bhuma Devi with this lotus feet every day, doing all the pastimes. Now that Krishna has left, that has created a huge void. She is feeling separation from the Lord. So Mother, in Dharma is asking, is that the reason? Why you are feeling so bad? Text 24. Mother, you are the reservoir of all riches. Please inform me of the root cause of your tribulations, by which you have reduced to such a weak state. I think that the powerful influence of time, which conquers the most powerful, might have forcibly taken away all of your fortune, which was adored even by demigods. So Bhuma Devi has so many riches, so many riches. We will see later in Bhagavatam and Prithu Maharaj, he actually churned Bhuma Devi, and from her riches was produced, which was food from all the way from Brahmaloka. People living in Brahmaloka, they came. They out of the churning from when they churned, one acted as the mother and calf, and they took the milk, and in the form of each devatas taking something, asuras taking the something. The whole universe is supplied by Bhuma Devi's riches. She is so rich. There is nothing Bhuma Devi cannot give. All the riches that is needed by Lord Brahma to a simple, small ant, everything is supplied by Bhuma Devi. She's full of riches actually. But in Kali Yuga, you will see that in the Shastra it is said the more adharma is there, the more she takes the riches inside her. That's why today we see, even in today's world, again there was this analysis that shows that how all the grains that is produced today is enough actually to feed twice the population of the world today. So much grains we are producing. But then why half the population is going hungry? Because we are using most of the grains in feeding animals. And then we are killing those animals, and then it's a very inefficient food cycle that we have created. Bhuma Devi is giving so much that she can sustain twice the population. Population is not the problem. The greediness of the people, the sense gratification, the addiction to bad things is the problem. So here he is talking how Bhuma Devi is so rich. Even demigods used to worship her. From her, they used to obtain everything. People living in Swargaloka and Makaraloka and Siddhaloka, they all used to take from Bhuma Devi. Everything, even Siddhaloka, they get the Siddhic powers from Bhuma Devi. Everything, earth is the source of everything. So here he is asking, being a reservoir of all riches, now that you have to be like this, he is amazed that time is so powerful. Kala, in the material world, Kala is the prime factor. In spiritual world, Kala has no power. There is time. It's not that there is no time. We see how Krishna Lila, there is morning pastime, afternoon pastime, evening pastime, and night pastime. but the time has no effect or impact on on the living entities who are serving and Krishna. It just acts as a subservient for their lila. Whereas in the material world, time is such powerful that even a great personality like Bhuma Devi is under the influence of time. Anybody in this material world, right? Even devotees, they have to go through the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. Srila Prabhupada, when he was in the deathbed, he was very weak. All his hands have become so thin. Because the last 6 7 months, Srila Prabhupada never consumed any food. Maybe some little juice 1 or 2 days, once or twice, in few days. So then his disciples, senior disciples were all there, many young disciples. And Srila Prabhupada showed his hand and he said, "Don't think this will not happen to you. Don't think this will not happen to you." They were all young 20s, right? And then, because Srila Prabhupada was, showing that even a devotee's body is under the influence of time in the material world, in the sense that it also deteriorates, and then, the body is completely spiritual. But the point Srila Prabhupada was trying to teach was that is, don't be attached to body. Even the most powerful person will be made nothing by time, right? So, here, that point is being mentioned. Text 25. The earthly deity in the form of cow thus replied to the personality of religious principles in the form of bull, "O Dharma, whatever you have inquired from me shall be known to you. I shall try to reply to all those questions. Once you too were maintained by your 4 legs, and you increase happiness all over the universe by the mercy of the Lord." So the Dharma has asked this question. So Bhuma Devi is replying. Dharani Uvacha, that's how the verse starts. Dharani is Bhuma Devi. She's talking about how, yes, I am in a bad shape, and you are also in a similarly bad shape because of Kali. Because in Satya Yuga you had 4 legs, and with the 4 legs he was able to keep, So then, in the Treta it became 3, Dwapara it became 2, and Kali it became 1. And end of the Kali Yuga, that also will begin. But Prabhupada also writes how proportionate to how much dharma is there, that much proportionate people will be happy. Satya Yuga people were extremely happy. There's no question of sadness. There is no distress. There is no disease. Right? So Srila Prabhupada writes, happiness in the world depends proportionately on the maintenance of the religious principle individually or collectively. So we have an individual dharma and collective dharma. Both has to be done, and then only there can be happiness. Text 26 to 30, very important verses. A big purport we will see. Bhuma Devi said, "In him reside truthfulness, cleanliness, intolerance of another's unhappiness, the power to control anger, self satisfaction, straightforwardness, steadiness of mind, control of sense organs, responsibility, equality, tolerance, equanimity, faithfulness, knowledge, absence of sense enjoyment, leadership, chivalry, influence, the power to make everything possible, the discharge of proper duty, complete independence, dexterity, fullness of all beauty, serenity, kind heartedness, ingenuity, gentility, magnanimity, determination, perfection in all knowledge, proper execution, possession of all objects of enjoyment, joyfulness, immovability, fidelity, fame, worship, pridelessness, being as the as the personality of Godhead, eternity, and many other transcendental qualities which are eternally present and never to be separated from Him. That personality of Godhead, the reservoir of all goodness and beauty, Lord Sri Krishna has now closed his transcendental pastimes on the face of earth. In his absence, the age of Kali has spread its influence everywhere. So I am sorry to see this condition of existence. So she's answering and she's affirmating what Dharma said. I'm sad because you have lost your 3 legs. I am actually really, and all of this is happening. Kali has come and all these bad things are happening. That is what causing. But the root cause of all this problem is Krishna leaving. Because as long as Krishna was there, Kali cannot enter. And she's glorifying the Lord. Right? So the devotees, they talk about 4 things. Name, first is the holy name. The second one is the form, then the qualities, and then the pastimes of Krishna. These four give eternal pleasure to the devotees. So here, Gomata, sorry, in the Bhuma Devi in the form of Gomata, she is remembering all the qualities of the Lord, right? And Srila Prabhupada gives a very detailed purport about all these qualities of Krishna. How truthfulness, right? That's a first quality that is mentioned. It's very important. We have explained a lot. Cleanliness, saucham, intolerance of another's happiness, unhappiness. That's the mercy of compassion. Krishna cannot tolerate the living entity suffering. That's why he comes again and again. He takes avatar into this material world because he is paradukha. Not only Krishna, all the devotees also possess all these good qualities. Paradukha dukhi, right? Krishna on his own is completely supremely ananda, full of bliss, but he feels unhappy when he sees the living entity suffering. Power to control anger. Anger is a tool Krishna uses. It's not Krishna is, for us, when we get angry we become the tool of anger, right? But for devotees it's the other way. When they control the anger, it's not that they don't have anger, but because they control the anger and the anger doesn't control them, they use it as a good tool. That's how we see in the case of Hanuman and other. So we should be able to control our anger. Self-satisfaction, not in external things, and happiness within. Straightforwardness, there's no need of diplomacy. Mahaprabhu actually condemns diplomacy very clearly. Steadiness of mind, again, very important. Control of sense organs, right? This is again Srila, Prabhupada also talks about it in the purport. Um, you know, Srila Prabhupada particularly talks about compassion, intolerance of others' happiness as protection of surrendered souls and well-wisher of devotees, right? So that's how he explains how Krishna is unhappy, and he is responsible. And next quality is equality. Krishna is equal to everyone, as the sun is equal to everything, sun's rays. But at the same time, whoever surrenders to him, Krishna says, I will protect him. So it's up to us. If we surrender more, Krishna will protect us more. Tolerance, again, we know how important it is. Krishna is super tolerant. We are doing all nonsense, and Krishna as Paramatma is with us in the heart, not listening to him, but still, he never forsakes. He tolerates all the nonsense that we are doing, and still he is accompanying us, even though we do not look back at him. Equanimity, faithfulness. Devotees. This is faithfulness. Krishna is very faithful to his devotees. Right. That's why you see, even if you offend him, Krishna is ready to forgive, but he is not ready to forgive us if we offend a devotee. Right. The relationship is very important to Krishna. Knowledge, and Srila Prabhupada writes very detailedly about knowledge. About knowledge has 5 parts. One is intelligence, gratefulness, power of understanding circumstantial environments of time, place, and object, perfect knowledge of everything, and knowledge of self. All these 5 comes under knowledge, La Prabhupada, right? So Krishna is very intelligent. He's grateful. Gratefulness is considered as a sign of intelligence or knowledge, right? Because we understand somebody has helped us, and if we are really knowledgeable, then we would be grateful to them. So the gratefulness to the spiritual master is actually a sign of intelligence. Absence of sense enjoyment, leadership, chivalry, and influence. The 16, 17, 18 Srila Prabhupada explains in terms of a Kshatriya, because Kshatriya means that he should have the quality of leader. Chivalry and influence. Chivalry means he should be ready to fight and protect people who have surrendered unto him. And influence is equally important. He should be able to influence others to follow the right path. It's not that you force all the time. Force works only in an extreme case. The first thing is you should be inspiring them. If you can't inspire them, then influence them. And if you can't influence them, then only force comes into play. That's how the Vedic literature works. The power to make everything possible. Krishna can do anything he wants. The discharge of proper duty. Even though Krishna says he has no duty, still when he comes, he acts as a perfect Kshatriya. We saw how he paid dandavats to his father, mother. He did, he respected Pritha. He even paid dandavats to Yudhishthira Maharaj and Bhima because they were his elder. And then he did all the duties of a Kshatriya. He took care of his wife properly. He took care of his sons properly. Krishna actually doesn't have to do all these things, but still he is setting an example. Complete independence. Only Krishna is completely independent. Dexterity, right? Krishna is super dexter. He can, achieve things, great things. Uh, you know, Krishna does everything in the most efficient way. Right? We generally, devotees can feel this actually. When we go and pray to Krishna for something, we would have thought that the end result have to come in a certain way. I need this, I need that, I need this to happen, I need to get the job. But Krishna would have make the same thing happen in a very different way, which then will be amazed. Oh my God, I never thought that I could have achieved the goal in this way, right? Krishna was so dexter, so skillful that we see in Mahabharata, the greatest general of all the worlds were assembled there, and he finished them off in 18 days. 18 days finished. War was finished, right? So that is there. Fullness of all beauty. We don't have to explain that. We know how. Um, uh, he is super beautiful. Prabhupada in the purport talks about Krishna is called Madana Mohana, that he can attract. He is so beautiful that he can even attract Cupid, right? Um, Serenity, kind-heartedness. Kind-heartedness or mercy of Krishna is considered one of the most important qualities, because without that qualities, all other qualities. One of the acharyas in the Vaishnava Parampara, he writes, the mercy or kind-heartedness of Krishna is the most important quality, he argues, because without mercy, all the good qualities turn into bad qualities. That's what we see, right? They're beautiful people, but because they are very proud in their heart, they act very bad. So what is the point of it becomes actually a trouble to others. Same thing, whether it's beauty, strength, knowledge. We see scientists, they are very arrogant. They act as if they know everything. In reality, they know nothing. So without this kind-heartedness, mercy, all the good qualities, they actually turn into bad qualities. So it's very important to develop this quality. All other qualities without mercy or compassion in the heart actually becomes bad. Ingenuity, gentility. He's gentle. Krishna is very, very gentle. The way he deals with his devotees, the way he even deals with his opponents, Krishna is always gentle. Magnanimity, determination, perfection in all knowledge, proper execution. Again, it's not just knowledge. Just knowledge is not enough. It has to be executed. All these good qualities have to be practical, and that's why that is specifically mentioned. The devotees, we read a lot of things, but if we don't execute these things in our life, then we are not properly, it has no use. Possession of all objects of enjoyment, joyfulness, immovability. Immovable means when it is right, Krishna is fixed, nobody can change his mind. Fidelity, fame, worship, pridelessness. Even though Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, he's the most humble. We see how he's, even washes the lotus feet of the devotees. Being and eternity. So these are the qualities that are described. So please go through the purport. Prabhupada explains each of these qualities in more detail, and they are very wonderful. That is text 26 to 30. Text 31. So Bhuma Devi is continuing. I am thinking about myself and also, O best among the demigods, about you as well as about all the demigods, sages, denizens of Pitraloka, devotees of the Lord, and all men obedient to the systems of Varna and Ashrama in human society. So she's feeling bad for everybody who are good, because 3/4 or most of the population is going to be bad. They will vilify, made the good people the villains. Right? Today we see that people who follow religion, they are called right wing people, fanatics. as if being liberal is a good quality and being a devotee is a bad quality. If somebody follows the varnashrama perfectly, they are all demonized. Oh, the Hindu society, it is, discrimination is there, caste system is there. Varnashrama is a perfect system. As if these guys liberals have created a discriminator free society, right? At least varnashrama society, the discrimination is based on character, whereas in modern life, discrimination is purely based on money and bad qualities they possess. One who has power and money, he is considered the top. He is given all the facilities. One who doesn't have anything, he is not even getting food. It's a ruthless society that we are living in. And then we are, they talk about, these are the people who talk, the capitalists who talk about, how in Vedic life there was discrimination. All right. If these people talk about discrimination, why are they discriminating about money with money? So this is a hypocrisy that is fully on. And then what they will do, they will vilify because they want to change. Because if people start thinking, they will see the fault in the system. They will start questioning, and they don't want that to happen. So they have to make somebody the bad person, and so they make the good people the bad person, so that the bad people can be praised. So she's feeling bad for the good men and the followers of varnashrama who will be condemned. And then about all the demigods and the pitrus and the sages who are all the well-wishers of the human society, because they will all be condemned and they will be vilified. And Srila Prabhupada talks about how Brahmana is not by birthright, but in Kali Yuga that will also happen. So Mother Earth is continuing 32 to 33, text 32 and 33. Lakshmi ji, the goddess of fortune, whose glance of grace was sought by demigods like Brahma, and for whom they surrendered many a day unto the personality of Godhead, gave up her own abode in the forest of lotus flowers and engaged herself in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. I was endowed with specific powers to supersede the fortune of all three planetary systems by being decorated with the impressions of the flag, thunderbolt, elephant driving rod, and the lotus flower, which are signs of the lotus feet of the Lord. But at the end, when I felt I was so fortunate, the Lord left me. Right? So here she is actually revealing the most deepest root cause of her suffering, because the Lord has left her. Right? Like Arjuna, in the previous chapter, we saw how Arjuna, he was expressing that he has lost all good character and all the beauty and everything and strength because Krishna has now left. Similarly, Bhuma Devi is also expressing, even Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, she is ready to give up everything she has to serve the Lord. That Lord was present and his lotus feet was touching me, and she is describing all the signs of the lotus feet of the Lord. We will describe it in detail in one of the chapters. All the signs and what is the meaning of these signs. The lotus, the elephant rod, elephant driving rod, and all those things. Each has a specific meaning that are explained by our acharyas. So she's saying that Lord, who is the master, he was present, and because he was present, Bhuma Devi was most fortunate because she held the Lord, who is the control, there's no other riches that is bigger than Krishna, and that Krishna was walking on me. So that means that I was the envy of all the other places, but finally, even though I possessed him, the moment I felt that I'm unfortunate, Krishna has left me. Right? And Srila Prabhupada actually is giving a very deep purport, that he's saying actually it's not that Krishna has left. Krishna never leaves any place. He, as a devotee, is explaining how we can retain Krishna always in our life so that we do not leave him. Srila Prabhupada was explaining, one should therefore ask that the grace of the Lord always be present on earth so that we may be favored with his causeless mercy and happy, having all necessities of life. One may ask how we can detain the Supreme Lord on this earth after his mission is fulfilled and he has left earth on his own abode. The answer is that there is no need to detain the Lord. By his omnipresence, he can always be with us if we are attached to his devotional service by hearing, chanting, remembering, etc. Because Krishna has said, I'm not in Vaikuntha, I'm not in the heart of yogis. I am where my devotees chant my glories and together spend, here and chant my glories. So any place, if we can chant, then immediately Krishna will be present there, and that will make Bhuma Devi very happy, and she will give unlimited, riches. Srila Prabhupada says there's no need to do anything man-made. Actually, we see in Mahabharata there's a description of a king who was so much engaged in the service of the Lord. He was such a great devotee that in his kingdom, people will not, don't need to go and do farming. All rice, dal, everything will grow, and it will cook also on its own. Can you believe that? It may look like fantasy, but it was happening. Bhuma Devi is capable. She can cook and give produced food like rice, dal, sabji every day. And everybody was happily engaging in devotional service. No need, nothing other than devotional service. So if we are engaging in devotional service, all these things will automatically provide. Generally, devotees are worried. How do we maintain temple? How do we do this service? If we are constantly engaged in service, Bhuma Devi will give all what we need in our life. We don't have to be dependent on anybody. And Srila Prabhupada talks about that here. Right? And he also says the opposite. When there is nothing connected with the Lord, when we are disconnected from the Lord, then there is nothing will be available in this world. So it is very important in this age of Kali to chant and engage as many people as much possible in chanting the holy name of the Lord. Text 34. O personality of religion, I was greatly overburdened by the whole undue military phalanxes, Akshahoni, arranged by the atheistic kings, and I was relieved by the grace of the personality of Godhead. Similarly, you were also in distressed condition, weakened in your standing strength, and thus he also incarnated by his internal energy in the family of Yadus to relieve you. Right? So Srila Prabhupada actually talks about how asuras, they want life of sense gratification at the cost of others. Right? So to fulfill that, they took birth as kings in Kshatriyas, right? But then Krishna, arranged, he personally through by his own actions or through his devotees, he finished off all these things so that Bhuma Devi's burden is reduced. And he also protected Dharma. So both Dharma and Bhuma Devi both were protected by Krishna. And she is remembering that. So now that Krishna has left, we have no one to protect us. Text 35. Who therefore can tolerate the pangs of separation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead? He could conquer the gravity and passionate wrath of his sweethearts like Satyabhama by his sweet smile of love, pleasing glance and hearty appeals. When he traversed my earth's surface, I would be immersed in the dust of his lotus feet and thus would be sumptuously covered with grass which appeared like hair standing on me out of pleasure. So she is talking about, how she had the great fortune to be touched by the lotus feet of the Lord. And, one of the symptoms that Rupa Goswami explains in the Nectar of Devotion for pure devotion or prema is hair standing on the edge. We will see that even in Chaitanya Charitamrita, many descriptions of prema is explained, the bodily manifestation. One of that is hair standing on the edge. And Bhuma Devi as well, she felt it. And the grass standing is actually hair standing on our body is the same for Bhuma Devi. So she's saying how she was, so much, pleased by the Lord. And she's also recounting how Krishna is super excellent, that he could conquer the sweet tarts, wrath and the gravity, generally, because again, it's people think it's not easy to conquer women. Actually, men can never conquer women. I'm not telling you, this is Shastric verse. This is even Vishnu cannot control women. Actually, it is said in I think in Padma Puran or in Skanda Puran, where it explains even Vishnu cannot control women. The only person who can control women is Krishna. So he is the only one who is fit to be a husband. None of the men in the material world are fit to be husbands, right? So that sentiment is being explained because, to handle someone like Satyabhama, only Krishna can do, right? She's remembering all the pastimes of the Lord, not only the qualities, but the pastimes of the Lord, the form of the Lord as well. She's remembering all the signs on the lotus feet and she's remembering the name. See, So the name, form, qualities, and the pastimes, all of it is remembered by Bhuma Devi. Text 36. While the earth and the personality of religion were thus engaged in conversation, the saintly King Parikshit reached the shore of the Saraswati river, which flowed towards the east. So now we are seeing at this point, Parikshit Maharaj is coming there, which is this is happening on the banks of Saraswati river. You can't see Saraswati; she is not manifested in the external. She is, she doesn't want to live in Kali Yuga, so she has left. So in the banks of Saraswati, this conversation was happening. So that ends this chapter. So this is a very interesting chapter, and next chapter is the punishment and reward of Kali. And then Maharaj Parikshit. Then we have three more chapters to finish the first canto. So we are in a good shape. So another 6 to 7 weeks, hopefully we should be able to finish the first canto and move on to the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. So I thank all of you. If you have any questions, you can please write to me. You know my number. With that, I'll finish today's class. Grindaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Srila Gurudev ki Jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Imitate that. We are in the lower stage. Therefore, deity worship required. Even if there is no temple, you can